Okay, it's February 1st, 2022, 7:30 p.m. Going to call the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Members present: Doug Roberts, Joe Hall, John Tehan, and Rebecca Sinoski. Is there anyone else here that I missed? Okay. C, applications to be received. PZ-22-1, permit renewal. Section 15, excavation, sand and gravel at Zero River Road, owner applicant Philip Desiato.
This is just, he submitted his application for renewal, but he is away, so we'll be taking this up in March.
Okay. Well, that being said, we have public hearing. PZ-21-24, special permit for signage at Love's Travel Stop, 3 Polster Road, applicant Betty Torrenson, owner, Love's Travel Stop and Country Stores Incorporated. All right, the public hearing's open. Do we have Love's here?
Yeah, we do. Originally, Rick Sheffield was going to be the presenter tonight, but he ended up with a conflict in his schedule and asked me to do it. So Betty Torstensen is the nominal applicant, but she actually is the signage consultant and spearheaded the whole process of preparing the signs that we're going to consider. So I'm here to lay it all out and hopefully be able to successfully share my screen. But by way of background, I'm sure everyone is familiar with this particular project. In the most recent round, we came here in 2019 for a zone change, text amendment, which was approved. And after that, there was a fairly extensive process of getting a special permit, which eventually was approved in February of 2020. Seems crazy now, it was all in person. It was before COVID turned everything sideways. So that happened, and as one of the conditions in the special permit, it anticipated that Love's would come separately for the signage. So that is what we were doing at this point. So with that, I'm going to start by presenting the signage application. Let me see if I can share my screen on this. Okay, that looks like the right one. Yeah, it'd be better to be in person. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, this is kind of the summary of the various dimensions, size, square footage, and that kind of thing. But what Love's is looking for approval on is for a street sign, which I will go through the renderings of how it'll appear in daytime and at nighttime. And then we'll go through the site plan for the specific locations and refer back to the landscaping plan from the special permit for how the landscaping would be around there. But there will be that street sign, 3 building signs that are just on one face of the building, with these dimensions. I'll pull that up in a moment. Some directional signs, and then for the truck scale, the cat scale signs, a couple of signs on that I will also go through. But as you can see, when you total up all the area, the total square footage is about 81 square feet. So that is what we are looking for tonight. Scrolling through, I think I'm going to shrink this a bit. I think it'll be easier if we do about, yeah, that is a little bit better. This is, at least in daytime, what the street sign that is contemplated will look like. It'll have the name of Love's on it, pricing for diesel, for cash, and for unleaded. I believe that in terms of orientation, the expectation is that unleaded will always be installed towards the road, which it's located next to. Overall height is 15 feet, which is at the maximum. Total square feet is about 32. And in the interest of complying with the regulations on internally illuminated signs, the daytime appearance will be like this, but at night, the colors will change a bit and all the parts in black will be opaque. So in terms of what's lighted versus what's opaque at night, the night view separates those two things out, just to give everybody an idea. Both sides are up there. It'll be mounted on 2 poles. As I mentioned, I'll go to the site plan after I go through the signage renderings and show you where everything's going to be. But this is the main sign, the biggest sign, and certainly in terms of locating the business, the most significant one. Moving on from there, there are 3 building signs that are planned, one for Love's itself and the truck stop, and one for each of the 2 restaurants, which will be a Subway and a Godfather's Pizza. They're all under 6 square feet. The Love's is slightly smaller at 5.6. The other 2 are 5.83. These are the daytime appearances. At night, again, to separate out what's opaque from what's lighted, it will have this appearance. You'll just have the letters, all the boxes on the other 2 will be black and opaque. And this is the position that they will occupy on the building itself, at least in the daytime with all the color. So those are the wall signs. Those are the only wall signs that are contemplated. There was a question from staff that came up as to whether there are going to be any signs on the canopy or the canopies for the fueling station. The decision was not to do those, so there will not be any signs. Even if you've seen other Love's locations that do say Love's on the canopy, this one is not going to. Moving on from there, we have some directional signage just to handle the circulation of vehicular traffic through it, autos, exit, enter, where the trucks can go, where the cars can go, and the ways in and ways out. As you can see, these are fairly small, at 2 square feet each per sign, and only about, what does that come up to? About, call it under 6 feet in height. When you measure up from grade 4 feet 10 plus the 1 foot for the sign. Like the building signs, these 2 will have a different appearance at night. This is the daytime with no illumination. The night appearance for all of them will flip so that the lettering and the arrows become yellow instead of black, and the black on the sign will be opaque. So even though they're internally lighted, the opaque parts are depicted this way. And that'll be true for all of them. This one rendering is just to provide the daytime view from the night view. Beyond that, the scale has its own set of signs that we have to provide, basically where you go in and where you can't go in, because it's a one-way proposition, plus some instructions there for how you have to get the truck on there and the process for getting weighed. The signs will be 15 feet. As you can see, the signs themselves are 5 by 4. That's the front view, that's the back view. Again, at night, the color will switch. Only the letters will be illuminated and everything else will be black or opaque. So you get the 2 different appearances for both sides, day and night. I believe there were some engineering plans that showed the signs as being higher than 15 feet. That's in the process of being corrected. They will be at 15 feet. And as soon as we get the engineering specs fixed on that, they might have come today. Mike could probably speak to whether he or Chris got them. I know the plan for the sign company was to get them in. If they did, that's great. If not, we'll get them shortly. Mike's nodding, so I guess we did get them in.
Yeah, we have the revision that you're showing. We have.
Great. And I think there were some additional details that had to be wrapped up, but they will be 15 feet. And that was the way it was planned. Okay, beyond that, I will move to the site plan. It might help to do this a little bit larger. Yeah, maybe even a little bit larger than that. Let's try 200. All right, on these, they're labeled as A, B, C, D, and E, which corresponds to the labeling on the sign package. But the street sign will be out here. We have the dimensions from pavement and from the edge of the road shown, so you know that we did meet the regulations on those things. The other signs along here are all the various directional signs that I already kind of went through. And the scale is up here. It's kind of that boxed in part that is, I believe, where everything comes in and gets weighed. I hope I'm Rick would have known for sure, but actually looking at that, I may be wrong. I think this is the scale over here.
Yep, that's the scale.
So the signage will be where the trucks drive in to make sure they go the correct one way through, where it says enter and do not enter. And it'll be 15 feet, but back in this location. And then the other set of signs is at this truck entrance and exit back here. So that's where they're all located. In terms of the landscaping, we are sticking with the original. I've got to move that bar. With the original landscaping plan for how it was laid out in these various areas. So the signs will have the plan that was approved with the special permit, and will provide landscaping around the base of the various signs as originally contemplated. We didn't see any reason to change this around and just kept it in the original form. So that is pretty much the way it's going to be all the way through the various exits. No changes at all to this, but the contractor resubmitted the landscaping plans just to be able to show that there is landscaping around them, and what was originally approved is just going to continue in that form. So that pretty much covers it. In terms of, I think I covered the canopies. The only other signage that I'm aware of would be some pump top signs like you'd see at regular gas stations, probably just with pricing and some other things. They are not advertising signs. They will not be very large, and they will be under the canopies. So I'm not even convinced that this is really something that would be covered under advertising signs or the sign regs, but there will be just those on tops of the pumps under the fueling canopies, of which there'll be 2 of them. So that pretty much summarizes what we have in the way of details. Happy to take questions or anything else, or get back.
We're gonna go to the commission before we go to the public to see if the commission has any questions. I have one. What's the landscaping like around the main sign?
The landscaping around the main sign would be right about in here. So I could pull up the specific planning plan if that would help. That sheet was shared today. Wasn't sure if we'd need it or not, but all the plans are keyed if it'll help. Let me get the details and I'll share that screen too. But this was the other sheet. And can you see it now just with the specs for the various plants?
Yes.
That's
It's a little hard to
what
read, but I can see it.
Yeah, it's, I think you still have paper copies, at least in probably Mike's office or
Yeah, we
Chris's
used
office.
to.
But
I'm sure they still exist.
yeah,
It's been a while since we've been there.
it's pretty detailed in just terms of all the
Okay.
various sizes of the shrubs, the trees, the lawn, but you can note in that corner, especially where the street sign is, that it's pretty thick. And the sign will be well surrounded by various plants, probably more close to the ground, except for the trees. We don't want the trees to interfere with the view of the sign there at the corner, but that's pretty much it. There, if it comes down to helping the commission, we could do an updated rendering with Fuss and O'Neill of where the signpost would be on the landscaping plan, and I'd be happy to send that. But you can tell from the location, that the sign will be in here, and that's some pretty thick landscaping. And then at the entrance here too, quite a bit of it, but won't interfere with the directional signs. And then the back here, there's less of it, but if you want some shrubbery at the base or some kind of ground cover to enhance it, we could add it, but it didn't appear to be necessary. But happy to provide more details if we need to keep the public hearing open and submit those.
All right, just a question, I just want to see what, in general, what was going around it. Any other questions from the commission? Mike, as far as you're concerned, all these signs meet our regulations, height-wise, 15 feet, the square footage, the illumination with the opaque backgrounds, so forth?
Yeah, so let me, I'm gonna take this over for a minute from Greg.
Sure.
And hopefully you can see this. So this is a plan review that I did and sent to
Yeah, I
the
have it in
applicant.
front of me.
So he addressed comment 1 in their revision, which indicates that the backgrounds will be opaque. The ground sign location, the dimensions have been added to the site plan. He referenced landscaping. He referenced the fuel canopy and that there won't be any signage there. And the other thing that we talked about was that the cat scale sign needed to be limited to a height of 15 feet. The only thing that, the only additional question that I had on here was related to the illumination of the actual signs themselves. I know that the commission, has talked about the various standards and making sure that the actual intensity of the illumination is not, I don't know, intrusive or too bright. And so I know Greg talked about that a little bit. That would be probably the only other thing that I would have a question on, but everything else has been addressed.
Great. Do you want me to speak up real quick on that aspect of
Yes.
things? As we were going through the application this afternoon, we concluded that we weren't totally sure that the opaque portions were going to meet the commission's requirements. So the intention was to put them out there as internally illuminated signs with those opaque portions. And if that's generally acceptable to the commission, we were going to submit specifications for the lumens and the foot candles on that. The consultant is aware that they have to be dark sky compliant. So certainly the intention is for that to happen, not to provide glare, reflect onto other properties of that kind of thing. They're not going to be bright, but if the opaque portions are acceptable, we'll provide the details of foot candles and lumens after this hearing, which means we'll have to keep it open. But that was just the uncertainty. The contractor didn't see the point in providing it if the opaque portions weren't going to be enough and we'd have to redesign it further.
Mike, isn't that what we're looking for when we allow illuminated signs, the opaque background?
Yeah, when we had the discussion with
The plaza.
Plaza, right? That was what we discussed. So I think that the next step in what they're willing to do is probably what we're gonna want to see is just to ensure that the intensity of the portions of the sign that will be lit is not too bright, particularly with the portion of the sign that indicate the price. You don't want,
Right.
We don't want that stuff to be really dramatic, and otherwise I think it works.
Yeah, I think we all want to see what the intensity is going to be on the illuminated letters.
Yeah, happy to do that. I got a little bit concerned looking around because when I looked at Dollar General's sign, it looked like an internally illuminated sign originally, but then they put the kind of gooseneck lighting above it. And we were thinking, oh, geez, how are we going to end up here in terms of what's possible? And will we have to do it externally? So we wanted to present first the opaque portions, make sure that would pass muster. If everything is good on general design, then we'll submit the lumens and the foot candles in terms of specs.
Okay. Any further questions from the commission?
Oh, just a comment. I think that the illuminated signs at night are a great improvement over what's going on across the street where cars are driving into the truck entrance, trucks overshoot the truck entrance and bottle things up. So the clearer things can be to the public, the better it is.
No, they are good safety enhancements having that. Any further questions from any other members of the commission before I go to the public? Okay, questions are now open to the public. Go ahead, Ralph Toulis. I see your hand up.
Thanks. Well,
Want to
Ralph
state your
Toulis.
name and everything for the record, even though we kind of know you.
I know.
Okay.
Ralph Toulis, 47 Village Hill Road. I grew up at 12 Losey Road, so this is my home area. Anyway, question about sign height. I noticed that the height is 15 feet from the top of the sign to the base plate on the mast. how high is the pier above grade? Because that could put the top of the sign, depending on the height of the pier, could put it another foot to 2 feet higher. That's not addressed. That's, every sign's going to have a foundation of some sort, so I'm curious about that. Mr. McCracken, you don't have to answer that yet. On the street sign, I see one plan that shows that street sign at the far end of the retaining wall. Yet on the landscape plan, you're showing it, well, you're really not showing where it is. So I'd like a little clarity on that if you could. There seems to be quite a distance between the two. And if you look at the, I guess it's the southwest end of that retaining wall, is actually into existing tree line, or almost into it. And I don't know if that is a good place for you to put a sign as far as its effectiveness once those trees grow. Because there's a line of pine trees on the easterly side of the property. Other than that, I love the internally illuminated. I've been an advocate of that for years. And I hope we can continue to do that in this town, as well as pay attention to the intensity of the lighting. Because I had some adverse experiences with the high-rise sign across the highway. And I do not want to see a repeat of that. I think that's it for my questions at the moment.
Thank you, Ralph. Greg, I think those are good questions, particularly with the height of the pier.
Mhm.
And what's that do to the overall height of the sign? Just be interesting to know that maybe when we, we'll probably leave this hearing open tonight, and that could be one of the things that get answered.
Yeah, I think that the intention is for them to be nearly flush, but I need to
Okay,
confirm that.
we should confirm it. Other questions from the public or comments? Okay, once again, any questions or comments from any other members of the public?
I'm not seeing anything on my end.
One more time with the commission. Anyone from the commission have anything other to add or any questions?
No.
Okay, I'm going to motion to leave this public hearing open till the next meeting. Can I get a second?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing will remain open until our next meeting. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, thank you. And just to summarize,
Yep.
what I'm going to do then is get the lighting specifications. I'll get the details on the piers or the foundations for the various poles. And I'll see if we can get together with Fuss and O'Neill and include in
Do
the
a rendering.
landscaping plan the actual locations of these signs from the site plan that the architect did.
Okay, and if you could get that to us, well before the next meeting, that would be
Certainly.
fantastic. Give everyone time to digest it and formulate any questions.
That's more than fair. Happy to do it.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. Item A, PZ-21-20 annual permit renewal, section 15, excavation, sand and gravel at 180 Tallinn Turnpike, applicant Diane Becker, owner Holt Mountain LLC. And we have item B, which is going to be PZ-21-21, the annual permit renewal, section 15, excavation, sand and gravel at 171 Tallinn Turnpike. Applicant Diane Becker, owner Lawrence Becker. Item C, PZ-21-22, the annual permit renewal, section 15, excavation, sand and gravel at 9 George Drive. Applicant Diane Becker, owner Lawrence Becker. And item D, PZ-21-23, annual permit renewal, section 15, excavation, sand and gravel at 328 Ruby Road. Applicant Diane Becker, owner Ruby Associates General Partnership. So do we have the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, good evening. For the record, my name
Good
is
evening.
Peter Walter. I'm an attorney. I practice law in Glastonbury in the firm of Pearson. And I'm here tonight representing the applicant and owners of the properties for which you just read the information. This is our annual visit to the Planning and Zoning Commission, seeking the renewal of the existing permits for the properties that are listed A through D in your, the general information that we've provided in the past continues true. This is an application as required under your regulations for the renewal of sand and gravel permits. I believe it's section 15-13 of your regulations requires that the permits be renewed. We have provided information to the commission in the past. I will report to you that with each of these operations, they have continued as they have in the past. We're not aware of any issues or problems that have arisen with any of the operations over the past year. These are all legally existing non-conforming uses established well before the regulations that you adopted with respect to sand and gravel operations in the town of Willington. And we acknowledge that you have the authority to regulate these operations reasonably with respect to the health and safety of both the operation and the general public. And we would indicate that we've continued to operate each of these sand and gravel permits in accordance with appropriate best management practices and in compliance with all health and safety expectations and requirements. One of the items that was of importance last year when we renewed the permit was the replacement of the driveway at the 180 Talent Turnpike operation. That has been completed since last year. And so
When was that completed?
I want to say it was in the spring of this year, June, July of this past year.
That was to prevent the tracking out into the road, right?
Correct. We had some issues over the 50 years of operation of the quarry there. The driveway had deteriorated to the point where it was not tracking off the wheels of the trucks as they left. And so we believe that problem has now been resolved by the reconstruction of the driveway. The other operation that was important to the commission was the continued involvement of Haley and Aldridge, our consulting engineers, who have followed the practice that was established by Ms. Becker and Mr. Patton in the operation of all of these facilities. Haley and Aldridge has continued its biannual stormwater monitoring at 180 Talent Turnpike, and also has installed monitoring wells at the 171 Talent Turnpike operation. I believe that commission has been supplied with the report of the latest results of the monitoring wells, memo dated January 26th, 2022 from Haley and Aldridge, reports the results of the first two monitoring exercises. I'll just quote the summary. The results of the first two rounds of quarterly water monitoring, quarter one and quarter two, did not detect environmental impacts to the groundwater or surface water. After completion of the quarter three and quarter four monitoring events in the winter of 2022 and spring of 2022, this memorandum will be updated and recommendations for future monitoring will be provided. As I know the commission is aware, it is not within your regulations that monitoring wells be installed, but the owner and operator of this particular operation out of an abundance of caution and a best management practice continues to engage Haley and Aldrich to conduct its testing and to make sure that all is in order. And the results of the first 2 quarters are encouraging in terms of that there is no impact on any environmental matters, either groundwater or surface water at the site. Those operations have continued, albeit the operation at 171 Talon Turnpike has been somewhat slower than previous years, just as a result of construction activities as they've continued on. The operations at the other 2 sites, 9 George Drive and 328 Ruby Road, are less intense, but continue to be operational. And so we're asking that those 2 permits also be renewed at the same time, and again, on a 1-year renewal basis, so that we will continue to provide information to the town and come back on an annual basis to renew these permits. We believe we're in compliance with all of the regulations that apply. We certainly have followed through with all the matters that we discussed at our last renewal and provided you with the appropriate amount of information. I know that John Patton is available if you have any operational questions, or if you have additional questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
And just one quick question from me for John, or
Sure.
you, it doesn't matter. Is the activity that's planned in the next 12 months similar to what's been going on? Nothing substantially different?
The answer is yes. This past year has been, as I indicated, a little bit less active than prior years, but given the current circumstances that we find ourselves in, we would expect that the activity would continue at about the same level.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the commission?
I don't.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'm okay.
Okay. Any questions from any other commissioners?
Nothing from me, Walt.
Okay, does anyone on the commission see any reason to continue this? It's been pretty clear, they did what we asked them to do with the stormwater testing, even though it's not really our purview. Test results were favorable, nothing substantially different going on. What's the thought?
Well, just a comment, certainly appreciate the operator's indulgence in the water testing. That certainly is a long-term thing that needs to be monitored, and it's good to know that they're taking that seriously.
No, as a best practice, it's certainly a good one.
Yep.
I just want to add that the permit that you guys gave last year had the condition that they paved the driveway by August 1st, which they did do, but that was it was the August 1st deadline.
Okay, and they met the deadline, so. All right, do we have a motion to approve these special permits?
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, special permits are approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, John.
Have a good
Have a
evening.
Good night.
Thanks.
All right, item F, unfinished business, nothing. G, approval of minutes, January 4th, 2022.
I move we approve the minutes of January 20, what is that again?
January 4th.
January 4th.
January 4th.
I'll second that.
Oh, no, it's called.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we have the minutes of January 18th, 2022.
I move that we
So
approve
moved.
Quick on the trigger. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no correspondence, nothing, Mike? It's blank.
Not as far as correspondence.
Okay, item I, public comment. The commission will hear brief comments at this time from anyone wishing to speak. No business can be conducted here, nor can any comments be made about any items on the agenda. Any members of the public have anything to say? Okay. Item J, staff report and discussion. Item A, affordable housing plan survey status and project website.
So just quickly wanted to follow up from the last meeting. We've created a section right on the land use portion of the website. I can just bring it up so you can see we talked about making all the information available. So from the town's website, under the land use department, we have a page that's affordable housing plan, and it has everything that we've been reviewing, all the information, has the link to the survey. And we also created this slide, which is what is affordable housing, just to sort of explain the math. We have also worked with the BOE to get the survey distributed through that digital backpack program that we talked about. So we've kept the survey open so that can get distributed, and we can have some time for hopefully additional people to take the survey. So I just wanted to follow up and let you know.
Oh, that's good that that's still open. Be nice to get a few more responses. What do we have, like 70, 89?
Yeah, we had 80 something last time.
And then like 10% of them we thought weren't town residents or something like that.
I think they worked in town. They didn't live in town.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good that it's still open. Hopefully we get some more responses. Okay, anything further from any of the commissioners? Okay, it's 8:08 PM. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Have
See
a
you
good
later,
night,
everybody.